Hello friends, and welcome to my second reading journal update video. I'm really excited to film this one because I just had so much fun making all these spreads and reading all of these books. So I'm definitely still in my fantasy era, and I will say, as you can see from the title, most of these are acotar spreads because that is the majority of what I read, but there are some that aren't. And I only read 3 books, but I ended up doing 5 spreads. So yeah, I had a great time reading all these books and thoroughly got obsessed with the world and all the characters, which you will see in all of these spreads. So if you haven't watched my last reading journal update video, then you will know that I don't have a specific reading journal. I just make reading journal spreads in my commonplace journal. I only have one journal for literally everything, so everything just goes in here, including all of my reading journal spreads. So first up we have A Court of Mist and Fury, and I listened to this one only through an audiobook because I had ordered the book from the library, but it was taking too long to come and I just couldn't wait any longer. I really needed to know what happened next, so I did listen to it on an audiobook, but I had a great time listening to it. I don't mind audiobooks, and I do often dip in between books and audiobooks anyway. So for example, I listen to audiobooks a lot when I'm going to work, or if I've got things to do at home where I need to be using my hands and my eyes. So yeah, audiobooks work really well for me, and I do tend to like the voice actors for this one. I had a great time reading this. Obviously I won't be giving any spoilers, but if you have read this then you will know that this is a great book for developing characters, because obviously the last book makes you feel some type of way at the end of the book about certain characters, so it was really fun to get to know Rhysand and all of the Night Court and see how all of those characters work together in their own little family. So I really enjoyed the fact that the book wasn't just at the Spring Court this time. We got to explore a new place, and one of my favourite things about this entire series is the world. I feel like I'm fully immersed in it. I really enjoy just like the ideas of all the different courts with the seasons. So it was really fun to try and explore and just get to see what some of those other places were like. So as you can see for the spread, I did go for just like a bluey theme. I do try and theme them around the book. It might just be that they match the colour of the front cover, or if it's possible I will try and add like little Easter eggs if possible that if you've read the book you get. But this one was quite hard. I didn't have much stationery for this one, so I just went ahead for some blue themed things, including this washi tape that you can see at the top. That is from BGM, and I just think it's so beautiful. It's got really nice gold details, so wherever there's glitter or gold detailing, I feel like it's a really good addition to a book spread, especially if it's a fantasy book. So I will try and add some sparkles where possible. So the paper that I ended up using as well is from Sostrine Green, and it's actually part of the winter set, but it's essentially just some nice blue paper with gold stars on it. So it doesn't have to technically be Christmassy or winter themed, and I feel like it went really well with this book. I also added some of these little book stickers because in the story there's a lot of magical books and they're trying to find them in the story. So I felt like that was a good thing to add, and one of my recent purchases, which is this Peon washi tape sample, and it is just so pretty. It's got like loads of little fabric scraps on it and it's just nice little additions, and because of the blue one and because I hadn't used it yet, I really wanted to include it in this spread. And then I feel like butterflies are always a good way to just continue decorating and just cover up any spaces that you want to add any extra decoration on. When I was reading this book, I was trying my very best to stay away from Pinterest because I did accidentally give myself some spoilers for this book when I was reading the last book. So I did kind of have an idea of where the story was going, I just didn't know how it was going to happen. So I still really enjoyed it. I still didn't feel like I had ruined the book for myself. So there was still plot twists and things that I didn't expect. And this one was just also a very spicy book, I must say. There was a lot going on. It was really fun to read this and message one of my pen pals who kind of recommended the whole series to me, because she obviously knows of all the changes within the storyline. So when I was messaging her about certain characters, I was just like, I hate this character. And then like a few days later I'd be like, oh my god, I love this character, he is my favourite. So it was just a really fun read, and yeah, it was just, I just loved it basically. I finished it very quickly, and I have to say this just entire series has become my Roman Empire. And yeah, I am officially a Sarah J Maas fan, and I'm not going to jump straight into another one of her series. I do plan on reading some other things first. So all my reading videos won't all be acotar, I promise. But if you are somebody that has not read it and you're wondering why everyone is so obsessed with it, there is a reason, and I am now one of those people. So I would recommend reading it. Obviously, if you don't like fantasy, then you might not enjoy it, but it's definitely a romantasy, and I just don't want to give any spoilers away, so I don't want to go into too detail about the story. But yeah, it's a fun time to read. So I just went and added some extra stamps, which is what I tend to do to just fill in the spaces. And then the things that I tend to write about are just some parts of the plot and how I feel about certain characters. So it was really interesting to read my previous one about how I felt about Tamlin and Rhysand, and then obviously my thoughts changed quite dramatically in this next book about those two characters. And the ending was very intense. I feel like the ending of all the books, there's always just some massive thing that's happening. So the end, I was just like, I could not put the book down. I had to know what happened. Well, I couldn't not put the book down because I was listening to the audiobook, but I couldn't stop listening to it. Oh, Rav's here, of course. It wouldn't be a video without his butt on screen. So the next spread, if you watched my previous one, then I ended up making a whole spread about the Spring Court, which is one of the places in the first book. I feel like if I'm gonna read a fantasy book, like why don't I make a whole spread about the place or somewhere in the story that I really enjoyed like being immersed into. So for me, the Night Court, of course, is such a huge part of acotar and the city Valaris, so I really wanted to make a spread about that. And spoiler alert, this is maybe one of my favourite spreads I've ever made. It's definitely up there, so yeah, I had a lot of fun making this. I found a picture of Pinterest because I really like to include pictures that other people have kind of created about the world. So it's just another way for me to imagine it when I'm looking at this spread. I had this card that had constellations on, and I know I usually say I don't like to use card, but I kind of had to use this because I didn't have particularly any paper that would go with the theme, and I just felt like this worked really well, so I had to keep that in the spread. And it's only a little bit of card, so it's not that bad. I had this washi tape from, I think I got it from AliExpress when I first started pen paling, and it's lasted me a very long time, but it's so beautiful and so reflective. I really wanted to add that behind the picture just to help it make it stand out a bit. And I did go for a similar composition to my spring court spread because I felt like that worked really well. So I kind of just wanted to continue doing that because I don't have a lot to write about with these spreads where I'm just thinking about the worlds and the settings. It's just a chance for me to just kind of create something and write some notes about what you might find in that place or where it is in regards to the whole world of the acotar universe. But yeah, if you obviously haven't read this book, then this is what the night court looks like, which is one of the main places you spend the book, and it's just so beautiful. My pen pal also made me a night court themed letter, and they sent me some of the notebook washi. They sent me some of the notebook therapy washi samples, and they were just so beautiful, and I was like, these are perfect for this spread. So as soon as I got those, I was like, right, I've got to make this spread now. So they worked great. And then I had some pet tape samples from Wildberry Labs, and obviously they were purple, so I was just going with the purple theme. If you have read acotar, then I would love to know which court is your favourite and which one you enjoyed spending the most time at in the book. I ended up just writing the place on the left hand side with just a brush pen that I had in like a really nice deep purple. I think it's going to be really fun when I have like all of these together and I can just look at all the different places, and I feel like it's definitely something that I'm going to continue to do in other books. I don't think I'll do it in every book, but I feel like any new fantasy world, I feel like this is the kind of spread that I'll also make. So there's definitely no rules in my journal with regards to what I can make with my reading spreads, and I think that's why for me personally it's really good that I don't have a reading journal, because if I did I would, I don't know, I'd kind of like hold myself back or not make certain spreads because I was like, oh, this doesn't usually go in a reading journal. And as I said, I don't usually read like a certain amount of books in a month, so I can't always guarantee that there will be enough books for 1 month spread. And yeah, it just takes the pressure off for me, because when I feel pressure or things that I give myself challenges for, it just doesn't work out very well. So I find the best way is to just let myself do whatever I want, no rules, and then that way I just end up creating so much more than I would usually. I really wanted to use these Marigot Nasuli Art Magical Being girl stickers, and I wanted to add her onto the spread to kind of represent Feyre, I guess, although she's not a witch. This is one thing I wish I had, like acotar stickers, so can somebody please make acotar stickers for me to use in my journal? That would be great. But I feel like it's really hard because obviously you're essentially imagining what the character will look like, but I will just try and use ones that fit well with the theme. So I felt like she went well with the colours and she was giving spooky vibes, so, and she had a moon on her bag, so yeah, I really wanted to add her. And then I'm just adding some tea and some books, because if you've read the book then you know why. And then I accidentally added this stamp on pretty much all of the book spreads that I made, but I just feel like it's a really pretty stamp and I've had it a very long time. Again, I think this was one of my early AliExpress buys, but it's a really great stamp. And when I bought it, there was the option to buy loads of other designs too, but I only bought the one, and I wish I'd bought all of the other ones because they're really cute and obviously I use it all the time. I'm just adding some smaller stickers just to try and cover up any little spaces before I do my writing. I feel like when I made this spread, I accidentally left way too much space to write. So I ended up writing just a little chunk and then going back and adding one of the quotes, which if you've read the book, you will definitely have seen it. And when I write these, I tend to just have a little Google and just see what information I can write down from the book. So now that I've added my quote, I'm just going back with some of the little flower stickers just to add some more details and fill in more of those gaps. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with making sure there's like no blank spaces, but it's just something that I've kind of been enjoying recently, just making sure there's like no big plain parts because I just want it to feel as decorated as possible. I feel like I'm definitely not a minimalist for sure. I'm definitely the opposite. And then I will just add the date, either the time that I made the spread or I might add the date of when I finished the book. I think this one I did add the date of when I made the spread. So obviously all these spreads are recorded over a certain amount of days or weeks. And then I'll add them or edit them all together and do the voiceover after. But let me know what you think of this spread. As I said, one of my favourites. This next spread is not an acotar spread, you might be happy to hear, but it is another fantasy and it is the second one in a duology that I read by Leigh Bardugo, and it is the King of Scars series. So this follows on from the Shadow and Bone series, the Six of Crows as well. I have not read the Six of Crows, by the way, and I don't really know why, because I absolutely love the Shadow and Bone series, and then obviously I continued it with the King of Scars series, and I watched the whole TV show. Really sad about the fact that season 3 has been cancelled, so they're not making any more, which is really depressing, but it is what it is. But yeah, Shadow and Bone was kind of my first introduction to fantasy a few years ago. One of my really favourite series, but then I haven't really read much since that. So jumping into Divine Rivals is what kind of started off my whole reading journey again. So if you aren't sure of what the King of Scars is, but you have maybe read Shadow and Bone or seen the show, then you will know King Nikolai, and it essentially follows the story of him, of Zoya, and of Nina the Witch. So it follows them in different POVs of what they're doing to try and all work together to go against the Darkling, because surprise surprise, he's back. So yeah, it's a really fun time, and I really like the character Nikolai. I think he's quite funny, to be honest, and he invents a lot of really fun contraptions. He is also obviously a royal king, but he also kind of disappeared for a while and turned into like a pirateer. So yeah, it's just a lot of adventure and a lot of fun times. I'm using this sticker sheet, by the way, from Artimation Co., which I purchased specifically to try and make some fantasy spreads. So it's definitely fitting in well with this theme. And what is very strange about this book, so obviously you're wondering, how did I finish this whole book in between all of my acotar books? Well, this series I started a very, very long time ago. I've actually been reading this book for maybe over a year, and it's not because I haven't enjoyed it. Like, I love this series, I really enjoyed reading it. I think I just didn't want it to end because I knew that this was kind of the end of the whole Grishaverse, which is kind of the world that they're in. That's what the magical beings are. They are like Grisha, and it's more themed around the elements. They've all got, like, you have the wind one. I can't remember what the actual names are for all the different Grisha, but yeah, they've all got different like abilities, and it's very political. There's a lot of politics going on in the book. So I definitely didn't not enjoy it. It's just because I guess I didn't want it to end, and I feel like Leigh Bardugo isn't going to make another Grishaverse book, which is very weird because at the end of this book it definitely ended on like a cliffhanger where the story could continue, and then it kind of linked up back with the Six of Crows characters, so there could be more in the future, I don't know. But maybe I need to read Six of Crows too to try and understand the bigger picture a little bit more. So I was happy to finally finish this, and the reason why I did decide to finally finish it is because I had read A Court of Mist and Fury and I was waiting to read A Court of Wings and Ruin, and I did buy it from Amazon, so I was waiting for that book to arrive. So I was like, oh well, I may as well just finish this book because it's been sat on in my bedroom for like a very long time with only like 3 chapters left to finish. So I figured I would just finish it. Yeah, so then it meant that I got to make another spread. I also used these stickers, which are so beautiful. I got these from Temu, I think, and they're just so beautiful. I bought them to make Tortured Poets Department themes in my journal, but I completely forgot about them when I made all those themes. But they actually weirdly go really nicely with this. They're kind of like royal, palacey, spooky, fantasy, and again, lots of holographic elements, so I'm definitely a fan of that. If you have read any of these books, then please let me know what you think, because obviously Leigh Bardugo has been bringing out quite a few books since then. I have read her Hellbent series, Ninth House and Hellbent, but I have not read The Familiar. I don't know if I will like it because I don't like things that are like too historical, and I feel like that is a historical fantasy. So yeah, you'll have to let me know if you have read that, if you recommend that I should read that too. It was really weird doing the writing because I had to kind of remember everything that had come before the final few chapters, but I did actually remember everything. So I just more talked about the characters and how I felt about them, because we did have a very slow burn romance in this as well, so it was nice to see the end. But this one is definitely not a spicy book, so if you're not into spice, then you're safe reading this fantasy series. I'm just rounding off the corners too, because obviously my journal is rounded on the edges. And this is the finished spread of this one, really pretty, and I'm so happy to have finally finished this series. I did give it 5 stars because I really enjoyed it, and I rate them just based on if I enjoyed the story or not. And personally, I haven't really read anything that I haven't enjoyed recently, so I'm doing pretty well. Now, I'm giving you a little flip through here because as I was recording this, I was thinking that was definitely going to be the last spread. But A Court of Wings and Ruin, I read that in like a week. It was intense. It was crazy. It was amazing. A lot of people that I've seen online tend to like A Court of Mist and Fury more. But personally, I don't know which one I like best. I think I might like A Court of Wings and Ruin, or maybe it's just because I just read that. But it was like fully action-packed. It was intense. There was a lot going on. There was even more spice. And yeah, we got to see more of the other characters and just continuing to see how Feyre's character develops as they all go head to head in like this big war at the end with the big baddie, essentially. So there's kind of like 3 parts to this book. So the first part is you're back at the Spring Court for reasons I cannot explain, and then in the middle there's like lots of time with all the different High Lords of all the different courts where they're trying to come together to go against Hybern, which is essentially the big bad guy. And during that time we get to learn more about the characters, their backstories, and just get to know how they're finding their feet with their new powers. The final part of the book is obviously the big battle against Hybern, and that is intense. There's a lot going on, and there was one scene, obviously I will not say what happens, but there was one scene that I was like, oh my god. And I don't really cry at books, but there were tears in my eyes, so if you know which bit I mean, then yeah, I felt your pain. So I read this very, very quickly, hence why I decided to add these spreads into this reading journal update. I had these purple like window stickers that one of my pen pals had sent me, and they just fit so perfectly with this theme. Again, I just themed this one around the pink of the book cover, and then I also had a like witchy sticker sheet, which I used some of the stickers on but not all of them, because it's not really like a witchy kind of vibe. Obviously they're like high fae, but I did have all the like magical potions and book stickers to include in the spread. Now I have been thinking about this series, about how, well, why has nobody made it into a TV series? Because if you think about it, like Game of Thrones, you know, all came from books. They didn't rush through it. It went on forever, the TV show. It was massive. Everyone loved it. And a lot of people that watched it had not read the books. So I feel like when you make something into a TV show, you don't have had to have read all the books to enjoy it. Like The Witcher, I loved watching The Witcher, but I have not read any of the Witcher books, and I don't know if I ever will. But yeah, acotar, why has nobody made that? Netflix, come on, we need you. I just feel like it would be so good, especially if they made it into like a really big, long series, rather than like what they did with Shadow and Bone, where they kind of tried to squeeze it all into one. So I guess that's maybe why it didn't pan out as well as they might have hoped. But yeah, I just feel like we need it. We need this to be televised. We need to see what Rhysand looks like. We need to see what all these different worlds look like, the different courts. I just feel like a lot of people would enjoy it who haven't read the books. Like, for example, my partner, he will watch like fantasy series with me. He's not a reader. He will never read this series, even if I paid him to. He just wouldn't. And I really want to like talk to him about it, but obviously it's so complicated that he has no idea what is going on if I even tried to. Whereas if we watched the show, then he would watch it and then I would be able to talk to him about it. So he has only read his Dark Materials, that series, when he was younger. So he has read some fantasy in the past, but yeah, he just doesn't read at all, so it's not going to work. But yeah, I really, really want the TV series to happen. So as well, then other people, I can like speak to them about it. Yeah, so Sarah J. Maas, we need it, please. And if you agree with me, then let me know who you think should play all the different characters. I have no idea who would make the best Rhysand, because I feel like it's a really hard role to fit, because so many people have this image of him in their head and have kind of imagined what he will look like, what he would be like. So a lot of people would be disappointed with whoever they picked, but maybe not. So yeah, it's a hard character to fill, so we'll see. So this next spread is another world one, and I'm pretty sure they spend a lot of the middle of the book in this place, so that is why I wanted to include it. So this is to do with the day court, and it's obviously very golden, very sunny there. There's lots of like clouds, and it's just like a pretty place to be. So it's obviously the opposite of the night court, so it's very different in aesthetics. So it was kind of weird imagining the people from the night court in the day court because they dress very differently, very dark, and obviously here everyone is very golden and beautiful. So I really wanted to make this spread, and these pictures I got from somebody on Instagram who makes like AI pictures. And then I had this celestial paper, which, well, it's celestial card that I used in one of my Meltober themes last year, and I've kind of been hoarding it, this leftover sample, because this paper is so pretty and I just didn't want to throw it away. So I wanted to use some of the scraps in the spread. Luckily as well, the bit that I ended up ripping off was the Aries and I'm an Aries, so I was happy with that. And then this little moon die cut is really pretty, and somebody sent it me, and it's just perfect to go with the whole day court scene. Again, I also used my favourite notebook therapy washi tape, which my friend sent me a sample, and I really wish that you could buy single tapes from Notebook Therapy because there's so many that I really like, but I don't want to buy the whole pack. So yeah, I was very grateful to have been sent that washi sample again. And then I just continued trying to layer behind all the pictures to cover the background. And for this one, I did way less writing, so I only left myself the tiny space on the left-hand side to actually record and write down my thoughts on this place. You'll have to let me know as well if you have been enjoying these reading journal updates, because obviously I'm not doing the whole reading journal setup at the start, but I feel like I'm kind of doing my own little twist on it with some extra spread. So yeah, you'll have to let me know what you think, and if you want me to keep making these, obviously I'm going to keep reading for now, and the next video will definitely be more acotar because I have already finished Frost and Starlight, because obviously that one doesn't take long to finish, and I'm about a quarter of the way through Silver Flames. I will have definitely finished the entire acotar series when you get the next book, so I'm hoping to try and read next When the Moon Hatched, and then I might read Fourth Wing, or I might try something else before that. I'm not entirely sure yet. But I'm definitely still going to keep reading fantasy for a little bit, I think. I've also been enjoying kind of doing the outline of my lettering with my fountain pen. I don't do this a lot, it's just if the colour of the brush pen kind of matches. So the ink in my fountain pen here is like a brownie colour, and I felt like it would go well with the mustardy brush pen. I was just trying to get across all the like golden celestial vibes in the spread, because I like to be able to look at the spread and just think of the place, like envision it. So that is my idea with these spreads. And then I got this washi tape out, which I was meant to use at the start and I totally forgot, so I then just started adding some little samples where I could squeeze it in now. And then I also have this like sparkly pet tape washi, which I really like to add to anything celestial because it's just like free sparkles onto whatever you are creating. So yeah, I hope you have really enjoyed watching me make all these spreads. I honestly had the best time making them. and I've had the best time reading this series. I now get why everyone is obsessed with it, because it's just so good. Like the characters, obviously like enemies to lovers, all the good stuff like you could ever want in a fantasy series is in this series. And the world building and immersiveness of it is just so magical, and that is what just makes me continue reading this series. And I'm already sad that it's going to end. Even though I haven't finished yet, I'm already like depressed about it. So please tell me how to get over that as well. But yeah, this spread turned out really pretty. I just really hope you enjoyed watching me create them and talk about the books. As I said, I never really know what I'm saying when I'm talking about them, and I'm trying to say things without giving spoilers. So I'm still getting used to trying to somewhat intellectually talk about these books. But yeah, here are all the finished spreads finally, and I just adore them. So I'm really excited to finish Silver Flames and then make more acotar spreads. But yeah, I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, then thank you. You have my eternal gratitude. And hopefully I will see you next time. So thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.